Hey, it's Adrienne. I'm glad you're here. I have a confession. I used to get really mad when people credited my parents with being great parents when they met me and I did something good or nice or important. I was so offended that these parents who did anything but uplift me were getting credit for the years of therapy and personal development that I chose to go for and pay for. They were getting credit for the person I had become. Well, that pissed me off for decades until I realized that huge parts of who I am were developed because of them. So, for example, I got the drive to understand unconditional love because growing up, I didn't get it at home. Here's another confession. I I often have to hold my tongue when people learn I'm an only child and assume I was spoiled. I want to yell, "Are you kidding?" I grew up in a very strict, children are to be seen and not heard home. I would have done anything for a sibling because at least I would have had an ally. I was taken from most everything I knew and loved when I was 6, including my mom and the few members of my extended family. And once my dad remarried, he told my mom that he couldn't live up to the access promises he made because his priorities changed. So many of you are from divorced homes, and you can probably find something that you can relate to in that. Starting in grade 5, every morning before school, I had to make all the beds, make breakfast, clean up from breakfast, feed and walk the dog, and of course, get myself ready for school on time. I was responsible for cleaning all the bathrooms. Yep, you probably had some chores too. I wasn't allowed to wear running shoes anywhere but gym class because they weren't proper shoes. And I wasn't allowed to wear jeans. I'd been threatened by older students because I wouldn't steal test answers from my dad, who was a strict teacher at my school. Oh, yeah. I was such a popular, proper shoe wearing polyester pants girl. I know I wasn't the only unpopular girl who was bullied. I suppose we all have stories like that. Are you ready for a victim-y drama queen statement? Growing up, nothing I did was good enough. That's probably not true, but it felt as if nothing I did was good enough at home. I was frequently told over decades that I was a thoughtless, selfish, horrible person. When I was 10 years old, as I'd go to bed at night, I'd pray to God to give my life to somebody who could use it because I didn't feel like I had any agency, any power, any way to have an impact in life. So this may shock you, but I cut my parents off for about 4 years in my late 20s because they were not nourishing to my soul. I'd leave most encounters so badly beaten emotionally that I'd think that dying would be the only way for them to see that I was lovable because at my funeral, my friends and colleagues would say nice things about me. But my incredibly wise and dear friend shook me out of that mindset by reminding me that they would simply say that these friends and colleagues thought I was a good person only because they didn't really know me. She was right. I'd heard them say that to my face before. And there was darker stuff too. So blamed, shamed, bullied, no matter your age or race, you can probably relate to aspects of this from your own childhood. So not spoiled. A few decades later, when I heard people commenting that my dad and stepmom and what a great job they'd done with me, I nearly choked. And that's when I realized I still had some forgiving to do of them and of myself. Thankfully, age can bring perspective. It makes such a difference when you start to see your parents simply as imperfect people trying their best, because that's how it is. The truth is, my dad is way better than his dad was. It's kind of a miracle he can function. My stepmom's life blew up when she was young, and what resulted was an adulthood filled with mental health challenges and deeply sad beliefs about herself, others, and life. So here's the truth. I would say 99.99% of parents, no matter how bad they were, they didn't wake up each morning and think, how can I make my kids miserable and totally F up their life? They just didn't. Instead, they did their best, often in challenging situations, and having come from a generation that didn't encourage, understand, or even approve of therapy and working out the bugs, coming from generations who believed children should be seen and not heard. When I considered all of that, I have to say, I developed a lot of compassion for them. And now that I'm even older, I realize that I had the perfect childhood. Let me explain. If I had received warm, unconditional love and support from my dad, I never would have known how deeply important it is to me and how vital the unconditional part is to my psyche. I wouldn't be fiercely independent. I might be independent, but probably not fiercely. I may not have had a love of travel and the ability to travel globally by myself. I probably wouldn't have been nearly as protective and caring of people as I can be. I'm a determined problem solver who helps people when I can. And you know what? A lot of that is because of my childhood. My life brought a fair bit of challenge, like most of us, or like I prefer to say, contrast. So my survival skills developed from my childhood were enormously helpful. They probably saved my life more than once. I also developed very good instincts about people. And I became such a good communicator that I ended up being paid for it professionally. Even my core values are a direct result of life and my rebellion. Oh, yeah, maybe I didn't mention that, but I'm a rebel at heart. I don't want to be a grown-ass adult who blames mommy and daddy, or anyone else for that matter. I want to see and celebrate the power, the strength, the determination that I developed. I want to cherish the compassion I've developed for them. In fact, maybe because of the compassion I developed for them, I've become a kinder, less judgy, more loving person. Still wildly imperfect, of course, but still pretty good. So think about your parents. They probably weren't perfect, but I hope that for those who were particularly challenging, I hope you can find some benefit in the amazing human that you have become. And I hope you can develop love and compassion for yourself and for them. It's all about the love, baby. So I'm going to send you away with a song that I am not going to sing. You're safe, but I'll put a link to it below. It might inspire you for the day. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.